Beneath the surface of the world's oceans, there lurks a legendary monster, Carcharodon carcharias, the great white shark. He is also called White Death, Man-Eater, and Death Shark. Names well earned, for the great white is the most dangerous creature in the sea. He has killed more people than any other shark, and attacks with a powerful savagery unmatched in the animal kingdom. He has no fear and no natural enemies. The most terrifying beast of the oceans has been celebrated in 2 films, Jaws 1 and 2.
You know, people don't even know how old sharks are. I mean, if they live 2,000 to 3,000 years.
Alex Kidler is the kid who was missing in the video. His mother says...
$10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Sorry, I just don't see it.
Neither do I. It's nothing.
That's a shark. And I know what a shark looks like because I've seen one up close. And you better do something about this one because I don't intend to go through that hell again.
Go away.
The Great White, immortalized in film, may actually be immortal in its own existence, and now lives on in Jaws 3D. Sharks evolved at least 300 million years ago. While most other creatures changed and developed to higher forms, they have remained the same, nature's perfect predator. And yet sharks remain one of the ocean's great mysteries. Their highly developed sensory organs can detect prey at great distances, yet they have a primitive brain and lack even a simple skeleton. A shark's body consists mainly of soft cartilage, and without bones, it is impossible to accurately determine their age or longevity. From the research vessel Shark Hunter in the South Pacific, scientist Walter Stark conducted his own investigation into this phenomenon. 6 months, he lived among the sharks in a one-man submarine, observing their behavior, their physiology, and the way in which they hunt. In his diary, he recorded an amazing possibility. Stark theorized that this creature, which existed long before the dinosaurs, was perhaps capable of living into eternity. If sharks do indeed have a different biological life clock, the evidence may lie in their feeding pattern. They continue to grow throughout their lifetime in direct proportion to their food intake. The sight and smell of food drives a shark into a frightening frenzy. Cameramen who subject themselves to the savagery must be well armed against the constant threat of attack. But it is the great white that is the ultimate predator. Described as the perfect prehistoric eating machine, they may be the oldest and most immortal of all. Since the release of Jaws 1 in 1975, the great white shark population around the world has increased in alarming proportions, and so has the number of its victims.
In California, there is an area between Ano Nuevo Island and Tamales Point, which is just north and south of San Francisco, those two areas, where we have 10 times as more attacks per linear mile in there than anywhere else. And that area has been classified, shall we say, as the shark attack capital of the world.
Captain Mike McHenry regularly fishes this area known as the California Triangle.
Well, one thing I've noticed is that there are a lot more sea lions. And I assume that they feed on sea lion. You know, they're not designed just to eat lollipops. So I would imagine they would eat sea lions. And there's more of them around nowadays. You know, they've got real extensive protection now out, which is fine. But it's Mother Nature's way of thinning out the overpopulated seals.
In the fall of 1982, Captain McHenry returned to port with an incredible catch. 4 great whites he had caught in a single day.
Big chunks of meat she had in her, and we don't know what it was, but it appeared to be warm-blooded animal, hopefully not human. This one over here, which was the first one that came up, I was pretty nervous, and I shot it, and it hit it back here, and it didn't kill it. And the thing just went crazy. And, you know, the waves were washing against the boat, and the hook was nearly straightened out. So almost lost him. We finally got a rope around him and got the hoist going. We got him. It took about a half an hour. We finally got him in the boat. And then this one here, we caught the 3 before dark, and this one did about 11 o'clock at night.
Within 1 month at nearby Bear Harbor, Michael Herder, a marine biologist, was attacked by a great white.
When the shark had a hold of me, it left me with several puncture wounds on the top and bottom of the thigh, 4 inches by 2.5 inches deep. The lower jaw was, of course, underneath me, and so I saw the top half of the animal, the upper jaw and the eyes, and got a fairly good look at it. And at that time, I realized it was a white shark.
There seems to have been a rise in the numbers of shark attacks that have occurred off our west coast and also even down in our Florida region here. Just the sheer numbers of sharks are greater at this time than perhaps in the recent past.
In January 1983, a large school of black-tip sharks infested the waters of Hollywood Beach, Florida. In order to prevent any casualties, beaches were closed and lifeguards ordered all swimmers out of the water. "175 miles north in Orlando is the Shark Encounter exhibit at SeaWorld. In this environment, sharks are observed and studied firsthand by SeaWorld experts. Their research became the inspiration for the movie Jaws 3D. And SeaWorld, an aquatic amusement park and laboratory, proved to be the perfect setting for the film.
Okay, stand by, kids.
The film stars Dennis Quaid, Bess Armstrong, myself, Louis Gossett Jr., and Simon McCorkindale. Directed by Joe Alves, the production designer of the original Jaws shark. Producer Rupert Hitzig.
The thing that separates Jaws 3D from the other two Jaws is it takes place as a kind of an underwater fantasy. But everything that we based our story on is predicated on a great deal of research.
The biology that they've used in constructing these sharks has been very good. Just the physical proportions of the sharks, the way the sharks move, all of that sort of thing is very realistic, and it's not something that you could come up with very easily just out of your imagination. So somebody's done their homework on a lot of this. The jaws that actually protrude from the mouth as the shark takes a bite, something that actually exists, and they work, and it's fantastic. The eyes roll back in the head as the shark bites to protect the eyes from the impact that the shark typically has when it takes massive chunks out of whatever it might be, a whale or whatever. All of that is there, and the rippling effect of the skin as the impact of the shark hits, it kind of ripples back down along the body. The thrashing and the head shaking, it's all very realistic, and it's very impressive.
Sharks go for anything that's close. As I said, most of the bites that we see are non-fatal, and they go for extremities, but they can go for any part of the body.
All right, now you see what's going to happen with the air.
For absolute realism, special makeup was created from pig intestines by makeup designer Catherine Beer and Dr. Kessler for the attack sequences.
It just saved the heart. That heart looks good, like cut up too.
I'll give you 2 sets.
All right.
And I'll keep the liver, and then we'll cut the liver together later.
Catherine is preparing a leg wound for today's filming, a process that is an art unto itself.
Katie just told me today this is what a shark does to see if it's edible object. It cuts the victim to see if it bleeds and then comes back and kills him. And that's why it's a crisscross pattern.
Leah Thompson co-stars as a water skiing aquamaid in her first major motion picture role.
Kelly! Kelly! Swim! Swim, kid, swim! Get back! Hurry! 2 cents. Come on. Anyone got a towel? Kelly, did you call an ambulance? Yeah, paramedic. You all right? Yeah.
The shape of the shark's mouth is a semicircle, and it's a semicircle above and one below. And it has rows of little teeth that are about a ½ inch that go all the way around, and the razor sharp. Not only they go all the way around, but the replacement teeth beyond it. So you have a row of very sharp serrated teeth below, sharp serrated teeth above, and when they come together, they form a very good surgical knife, literally cutting everything off above and below it.
Australian diver Henri Bourse graphically illustrates the horror of the great white. This film was actually shot by fellow divers at the time. Only a modern miracle saved his life. Shark attacks in the movie begin with a storyboard of the director's visual concept.
All right, now, let me explain what happens. The shark, it goes to the straight field view of the shark, and it crashes right through.
We went through my slides and looked at people who've been underwater for a couple days, looked at the coloring and the skin tones, looked at how the face blows up and the eyes blow up, and how the intestines would look if it was in the water for several days. What's going to happen is these intestines here, as you're in the water for several days, the microorganisms in the intestine begin to produce air and other gaseous compounds, and the body begins to bloat. Seeing how a body looks it's been in water decomposing is not particularly anything new to me.
Okay, I told you.
Ray, if this was a shark attack, I've seen it before. Okay?
This is extremely realistic. It's gory, but it's a real effect. This is something that happens to a body. There's no way to get around it, and it's going to work out real nice.
SeaWorld is famous for the performing mammals like Shamu, the killer whale. Highly intelligent creatures are capable of performing a wide variety of exciting and complex behaviors. But their great challenge was yet to come as co-stars in Jaws 3D after months of special training.
Let's separate Kai.
There is a special relationship between dolphins and their trainers, a bond of mutual trust and respect and friendship.
Hi, Copper. You go back to target. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. Yes. You're a good boy? Yes, you are. You're a good boy.
SeaWorld trainers Dan Blasco and Thad Lasenack were given the task of training the dolphins Capricorn and Kai for the film.
When we were first approached by the producers of Jaws to do the filming and to actually train the animals to do some of the bits in the show, we were not only challenged, we thought it would be a lot of fun, too.
For simple behaviors such as nodding and talking, the dolphins are cued by hand signals.
We have a whole list of dolphin behaviors that we sat down with the directors and the producers and have gone over. That list of behaviors was slightly changed according to what we thought our dolphins could do and what we didn't think they could do. Where we were going to do them was very important.
Boy, Kai. Here. Here. Good boy. Very good.
Do we want them to come up to our hands, or are we going to do a hug, actual hug?
Well, we're not going to do an actual hug, because we don't know for sure where they're going to want to film it. If they do it in this pool or that pool or wherever. So really, all I want is a rostrum hug. So they just come up and kind of hug on your hands, cupped. It's kind of like...
the one you got to work on, Capricorn. You don't want to stay low.
Let's do it again, guys. Come here, Cap. Come here, Cap. Come here, Cap. That's a boy. Now you're doing good. Come here, Cap. Good boy, Kai.
Only successful behaviors are rewarded.
Together. All the way up. Big one. Smiles. This is the double hug.
And all we did was get the two dolphins to come on up and hug Bess, and in this particular part of the movie, it's right after they saved her. So it's a real close moment between the dolphins and Bess, and it's really kind of cute, because then we'll go right into these. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, you guys did a good job.
Finally, these aquatic actors will be put to the test. Director Joe Alves plans the action and camera angles, while Dan rehearses the dolphin.
4 apples, take 4, marker.
Thanks, guys. You did great. I owe you one.
Right.
The next behavior to be trained calls for Capricorn and Kai to leap out of the water on Bess Armstrong's command.
Some of the things were kind of far-fetched. When we looked at that, we said, well, hey, you know, I understand where you're coming from. Why don't we change slightly? Why don't we do this? Because this isn't far-fetched. This is neat. And I think the animals will relate to it better. I think it'll come across better on film. And a lot of times the producers looked at it and said, yeah, you're right. We have dolphins swimming through things that they normally wouldn't do. Those behaviors are being trained now. We have behaviors that were normally done on the surface that we switched and were done and given cues underwater. Like head shakes, yes, and no's, and squawks, and things like that will all be done underwater. We have dolphins protecting the actress. Those things are being trained now and will be ready for the film. Right now, what we're doing is we're working a brand new behavior that the dolphins have never learned before. It's a behavior that they will never, probably ever have to do in the wild, and they've never had to do for SeaWorld. It's actually protecting people and punching a shark. This shark is going to be massive compared to anything they've ever seen, killer whale, anything.
Very good. Now let's do it again.
When we start to approximate a behavior like that, actually having a dolphin come in and hit a shark, we have to take very small steps. One of the steps you're seeing now is actually a target that the dolphin is trained to come in and push on continuously.
Good. Good boy. Good. Good. That's the way to do it, isn't it? Yeah, that's the way to do it, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. Hey, we'll do it again.
When we start telling them that they're doing it correctly with this float target, we'll start adding size to the target, color. We'll start building on this float target to actually become a shark.
You're doing great. Yeah, you're doing real good.
For the shark sequence, the dolphins must first be transferred from their home into the studio tank. The move is a difficult one and is carefully supervised by the trainers and veterinarian staff.
This is the tank built for Jaws 3D. It is 26 feet high, made of steel. It's built to stand for a long, long time. It'll hold 1,600,000 gallons of water, which is 16 times the size of an Olympic pool.
Debbie.
Director Joe Alves will control the action from an observation porch below.
It hasn't given us any trouble before, so it's got its rights.
We have a dummy fin and gills in the pool where we were working them at, in the regular pool. And first time Kai saw it, he swam up to it and, you know, clapped his jaws at it, like as if to say, what is this thing, you know, and get out of here. He was trying to act tough with it, you know. He's funny. We were just saying, I hope he goes out down there and does that to this one this time.
Daddy? It could be more that could do it. Is Dan Blasco in the water?
Yeah. I'm trying to get the small cat. He won't come over to me. All right.
The dolphins are uneasy, sensing their impending encounter with the great white.
Ready to go? Yeah? Good boy. Yeah.
Okay, Dad, we've got him.
Okay. Anytime, Rob.
Okay, we're going to send them now.
We're rolling.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's sweet.
Bess Armstrong will make a grand entrance in the film, riding Shamu, the killer whale. The first time a civilian has attempted this.
When I first got here, people who didn't know any better filled me with a lot of fears about the danger of these killer whales. So one of the first things I did was go out to dinner with the whale trainers, and I began to hear the stories. And once I knew the reality of that the whales could kill a human being in a split second, but have never even seriously hurt a trainer. They know how delicate human beings are. Once I knew that, I stopped having nightmares. The excitement, really, about that day for me was the fact that Shamu did not accept me at once. And if the animal had decided that he didn't like me, it would have been trouble. Danny, the trainer who played my assistant in the film, got in with me. We mounted Shamu together, and we decided to take several circuits around the pool together first. And of course, what happened was we got halfway around the pool on Shamu's back, and Shamu went, "Who's this?" and ditched me. And therefore, I got to take part in a training session. Danny and I went around many times where Shamu would pick us up from underneath halfway around the pool, and we would then ride, and before he could ditch us, we would ditch off of him. And we did that for about 20 minutes, just keeping it going, and finally one time when we were halfway around the pool together, Danny said, "You're on your own, kid," and dove off, and there I was, riding the Shamu. I thought, God saved me from a real job. You know, it was just wonderful. After that, I just spent every free minute that I had of every day over there with the animals. Can-Do, my little boy whale, has already grown up so much that when I went back yesterday to say hi to him, he's a different whale. They figure that when he stops growing, he's going to be 25 feet long and 18,000 pounds. And that's sort of sad for me to realize that this little friend I've made will probably be such a different animal the next time I see him, that he won't recognize me and I probably won't recognize him.
Australian shark expert Valerie Taylor has tested the only form of protection against shark attack.
Yeah, that's what their teeth do when they get on it. That's the noise you hear. And you really think it's getting into you because of that terrible noise, but it doesn't.
The suit is made of chain-mail steel and will prevent the shark's teeth from penetrating her skin. Valerie knows there's only one way to test the suit. She must drive these blue sharks into a frenzy. The shark tears the steel glove from her hand and swallows it whole.
I don't know how bad. He got the glove off somehow. He just ripped it off. And this naked hand was in his mouth. So I put that hand in so that he couldn't crunch down on it. I did it just like that, but you can see why he got the thumb. It was sticking up.
Now, Tony, do you think the suit's going to protect you?
Are you kidding me?
Well, it won't cut through, but it will yield to pressure. So she might just get a little squeeze. Oh, that's great news.
I'm wearing the Valerie Taylor chain-mail wetsuit tonight.
It isn't quite Vegas enough. Not quite Vegas?
No. It's that tiny little link stuff like 20s evening bags were made out of, except this is made out of steel. And as I understand it, there are only two of these suits in the world. One is Valerie's and one is this one that was made for Jaws.
Not in this scene. As a matter of fact, I suppose I could still even be vaguely... I would just leave it like that. What do you think? Joan of Arc.
You sure know how to scare the hell out of me.
Make sure he's wet, okay? Keep him wet. Let's get him in the tank.
Hey, is the film all right? TV picture's very cloudy.
Calvin, Catherine is okay. Philip is okay. Jack is fine. Dan and Liz are fine, and I'm okay, too.
But is the film all right?
Absolutely first rate, Cal. I think you'll be very happy.
Well, then, congratulations on a fine job. Gee, is everyone okay? Did look pretty dangerous down there.
The character Calvin Bouchard that I play, we've added a thing to it. Unlike Officer and the Gentleman, it was a part. You know, I could have played it any kind of way. But this time I decided to specifically make him a black man from New Orleans. His name is Calvin Bouchard. So it was a chance to use some of the harmony grits in my voice, if you want to call it that. He had a nice flair and style. His background is he's a former athlete, and he retired after that and became a businessman.
How we doing, Len? I just got today's first printouts. Today our advance sales are 3 times ahead of any of our other parks.
But not unexpected, Leonard. Where's Great White right now? And he's quite entrepreneurish, very Gordy kind of show businessy kind of man. And he's created this nice park. All of his money, his entire life is tied up in this park.
Now look, I run the park, I sell the tickets, and I make the decisions. Move the fish. I'll be able to stand in line and see it before 3. It's just beautiful.
He's a very meticulous dresser. So, and it's a 3-day story. By the time the shark comes in and becomes a crack in his veneer, he doesn't have any sleep for the entire 3 days. By the time the 3rd day happens and the shark is crashing in things and killing people, he's a shell. I mean, you can see his entire future, his entire fortune going down in Jaws.
How long can they last?
I don't know. 6, maybe 8 hours. They'll panic and use up all their oxygen. I better go to work.
So there's a big difference from beginning to end. I like that. That's what an actor wants, a change, a transition.
You can go from point 1 to point 2 in a film. That's not one-dimensional, if you want to call it that. There's a full character there. So it's a pleasure to work like that. It's a challenge. Did you check the filtration pipe?
No, Calvin, the current's too strong going the other way. And we got 1 million gallons of fresh seawater flowing into the lagoon every hour.
That man's irresponsible. And when it turns up, fine.
Now, Halder, come on. He's a good man. He just messes up every once in a while.
I'm gonna hold you responsible.
I play Mike Brody, chief engineer at SeaWorld. And my character's been sent in here to SeaWorld to a construction company to build new exhibits at the park. And I've been here for the last 2 years. My job is just winding up until Jaws gets into the sea park. Therefore, complicating my job even further.
Hey, Mike. Yeah. This is our last cut. I think our tunnel patch is ready to go. Good. Rig the winch on that workboat up there, will you? You got it.
I read a lot of books about engineering since I'm playing an engineer in construction engineering. I read a lot about sharks. I observed sharks.
Damn, bastard's right here.
Myself usually think of some moment in my own life when I was extremely frightened, and that'll bring it to mind for me. Like there was a moment in my life I was back on the back of a galloping horse that was running away with me when I was a child, or even you can even use the feeling of cold water hitting you right in the face unexpectedly.
Are we going in with bottles on and then just losing them on the bottom and putting on the EDC bottles when we get down there?
Obviously, one of the things that they wanted us here early for was scuba training, because Dennis and I had not been scuba divers before this. Luckily, we're both very strong swimmers.
Why do I always hear a hidden noise when I'm attached with this equipment?
You're hearing it all. There's hissing in the tank now from the pump.
Oh, so that's what it is?
It's
Okay.
driving me absolutely crazy.
Okay, I thought it was my equipment.
I thought it was mine too.
Well, I've made all the excuses I could possibly make.
You had your
What else
potty
can I
break
say
and all that. Yeah, you already went to the bathroom.
I'll take both of those.
We spent an awful lot of time learning all the specifics. And at the time, I think both of us were a little bit impatient with it. Like, yeah, we've got that. Come on, let's move on. Let's do something else. Now that we're actually shooting underwater, I understand why it's so necessary for them to drum those things into your head, because we've had several incidences where we've had to buddy breathe, or in one instance when my bottle was not turned on.
Oh, did I splash you?
Nice try. Have them buddy breathe, just lift up with their other masks on and their small air tanks.
I like Philip. And in a way, you, as an actor, you can't dislike the character that you're playing, otherwise you really get yourself into an awful trouble, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is now. Mr. Philip Fitzroy, ladies and gentlemen. Philip Fitzroy.
I like him, he's flamboyant.
I've often tried to sit down and actually work out whether he has a modern-day equivalent. I mean, obviously, Jacques Cousteau is one that springs to mind, a much younger version thereof, but he's a bit more of an adventurer, a bit less of a scientist than that. He is an adrenaline freak. It's a bright lad. Yes, Jack and I are going to lure him back into the pipe, close the gates, and then dispose of him at our leisure. Meanwhile, you can weld your tunnel patch, and then Calvin can evacuate the civilians.
What if she doesn't want to go back in?
Oh, I think we can pretty much guarantee that she'll want to go back in, don't you, Jack?
Sure. Well, just how are you going to guarantee that?
Live bait.
Obviously, for him, it's just a game, particularly the first shark. I mean, it's, well, you know, what's that? It's just a little shark. Let's go out and play with it.
don't understand. This is it.
I don't know.
He never came up.
Papa! Answer me, you bloody bastard! Answer me!
A veteran of British theatre and films, P.H. Moriarty plays Jack Tate, Philip's trusted aide.
Jack Tate is, he's a guy who's adventurous and very loyal to his friends. And Jack would die for you, providing you're a good friend. I feel better if you did just the one thing.
Hey, what's the matter? You got any cold feet?
There's certain things that are the same. I can pull out my own personal life, things about Jack Tate. There's a scene in the film with one of the skiers. And have you seen the skiers in this film? Well, they must have beautiful mothers, you know? And their grandmothers must have been lovely.
Just even getting a tan was a big production for me because I'm from Minnesota and I never swam in the ocean before for any kind of length of time, never deep at all, maybe up to my waist. And all of a sudden I was skiing out in the ocean. It was great because I was thrown into with real professionals, which is the best way to learn. It was real exciting. But I had to look at it that way or else I would be terrified. When the pyramid broke, we were out there, you know, a mile out to sea, no pickup boat, just swimming around. And I had never done anything like that, and all of a sudden I just had to do it. And so it's been fun. It actually is fun to work with the shark and to work with all the kind of effects. You know, even the 3D was fun. It's fun to look at. It's real fun. It adds a whole different dimension.
This third Jaws epic was filmed entirely in 3D, which will bring the action right out into the audience as if it were close enough to touch and with a depth that can stretch to infinity. Jaws 3D is an underwater adventure story set in the SeaWorld Lagoon. Photography captures the full dimension and excitement of this undersea world.
We feel this is a breakthrough film in 3D, certainly state-of-the-art. We've never seen pictures that look as well, and we know that the projection and the glasses are all going to make it very, very exciting filmic experience.
In this tunnel of fun scene, a moray eel pops out of its cave. Every shot must be carefully planned to create the best effect.
Oh yeah, this is really coming out at you.
The secret of 3D begins with a camera which has two lenses, 2.5 inches apart exactly, like our own eyes.
We need more?
The film records these images on top of each other, and with special 3D glasses, they magically become a three-dimensional picture. The result is a sense of realism never before seen in movies. When Jaws, the great white shark, attacks, he will appear to swim right through the screen, out into the theater, and attack the audience itself.
Well, me personally, Beth, I'm terrified of sharks. So that made the scenes where we're actually being attacked by the shark real easy to play. It was just terror. As a matter of fact, the shark we were using, which is not a real shark, scared me so much I didn't really want to be around it because it was so real. The problem there was that Catherine Morgan, the character I'm playing, is a biologist who believes that sharks are people too, so to speak.
No food, no medication. The only live one in captivity, guys. Let's keep him that way. Huh? Don't do anything that's going to traumatize him.
Well, I can't say I actually love sharks.
When I first came here, one of the first things I did was I went into the shark encounter, watched them swimming around in the tank, and they did look pretty ugly and ferocious.
If he was on land with a lion, at least you could run.
I'm not going to let him win. They don't like soul food anyway.
Once again, the awesome and terrifying great white has been captured on film in Jaws. In the oceans long after mankind has disappeared from the earth. Perhaps a jealous guardian of the answers to many medical and scientific questions. Perhaps the secret of its immortality. Until such time as we can unravel these mysteries, the great white will continue to roam freely in search of its prey.
Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can learn about Jaws, sharks, movie making and everything in between. Also be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok and Instagram, and be sure to check out our website, thedailyjaws.com. Until next time, we drink to your legs. Farewell and adieu.